Do you believe, first of all, that the Flames have a chance at the playoffs? Because that dictates everything.
Yeah, I mean, I said at the start of the year, so I've got to own it. Like, I thought with just better play of the players that were there that had off seasons, I'm like, yeah, the playoffs could be realistic. If you saw some regression from Seattle and, other teams, San Jose's trying to be bad. Like Anaheim may take a step, but I don't think they're there. So I thought Calgary was going to be, they missed the playoffs by 2 points and had dreadful seasons last year from their top players. So I thought, okay, Markstrom's going to be better. Huberdeau's going to be better. Kadri's going to be better. Lindholm's going to be better. Hanifin's going to be better. They're in a contract year. So I'm thinking, okay, this can be a playoff team. So with that in mind, that if that's what you're selling, if you're Craig Conroy or the management team there, John Bean, the president, is that what you're telling Murray Edwards? This is a playoff team. And, you got to count on maybe a couple home gates there. That's kind of what I'm thinking. Like, so if that's the mantra from ownership, then I don't know. Do you sell pieces off, or are you looking at it? Okay, it's been a slow start. You can't blame the coach because there's a new coach. You can't blame. The blame game is you can't point out. You got to point in. And Huberdeau's got 3 assists in 11 games, and they're trying to move him around the lineup to see if we can find a spot for him to look comfortable in. Kadri's shown signs of life recently. Lindholm is a solid player, but you're seeing, the best players. We talked about it last week. Like Connor Zary has looked,
he's a point per game.
The kids look good. So
the best player.
So Boomer, getting back to your question, I think there are teams that would covet Markstrom. I mean, easier said than done getting him on your roster if he wants to go. I mean, how much would Ken Holland pay to have some stability or a guy that could play every night there? Given that, I don't even know what a deal would look like in that scenario, and if you trade up the road. But there are teams that are dying for goaltending. Markstrom has shown he can be a top-tier goaltender. I thought he was fantastic last night, some big saves. But I just, if you're breaking it down, like even if you just wanted to bottom out, if you're the Flames, can't do it overnight. There's too many good players there, I think. And then, you still have to keep guys. So I do believe, going back to your original question, I thought they were a playoff team. They're going to hang around it just because if the goaltender gives them a chance every night, that's the scary part. But I don't know if that's the end game where you want to go.
Yeah. And just a quick thought on that, and then I'll let other guys. I was just looking at your schedule, and they beat Nashville. They beat Montreal. They beat Seattle. I'm not sure if any of those teams are playoff teams. They beat Winnipeg and probably shouldn't have an opening night. Yeah. Upcoming, they have Dallas, Colorado, Vegas, and then Dallas again. Those are their last 4 games. I think the picture is going to be a lot clearer very soon as to whether they're a playoff team. It's still, it's mid-November. I think by the time you get past American Thanksgiving and into December and that, it's going to be a lot clearer what they are.
Yeah.
So anyway.
That's a great point. It is a great point because you're looking at schedule and quality of schedule. That's murderer's row coming up for them, in 5 games where you've got teams that are, serious teams. I watched that Dallas team play last, like they're good. Like Vegas is good. That you're right. Like, beating Montreal. Montreal gives you what they got though. Like they're not a rollover. Some of these teams that are, not playoff teams or retooling, they still have got some talent there. So yeah, you're right. I think the proof will be in the pudding probably about 2 to 3 weeks from now.
Yeah. One of your colleagues, Pierre LeBrun, Darren Dreger, they put out their insider trading yesterday, and LeBrun was saying that just details on the Hanifin extension that almost was and then wasn't, that it was a $60 million extension. That's north of Devon Taves. That's $7.5 million per season, and it was Noah Hanifin who actually, it sounds like put the brakes on that. That's he's going to have to do a lot to, I think, over a 7-year deal at UFA July 1 to find the $60 million out there. I guess just thoughts on that, because he said no, thank you to a lot of money.
So do you guys remember the movie with Jim Carrey where he's the lawyer that can't lie? It's Liar, Liar. And do you remember in the courtroom, they offer the deal and he's like, sign it. sign it, sign it, sign it. And the lady who cheats on the husband goes, I'm the victim here. You told me I could get it, and he's like, sign it. Like, when I hear that number for that player, I in my mind, Jim Carrey from Liar Liar is screaming. Like I don't know what else. Like I maybe it's more the marketplace. Maybe it's more the player wants to play somewhere else. You know what I mean?
Fucking overpay. That's ridiculous. Devin Taves or Noah Hanifin. Pick one. Like, it's not close. 32 GMs are taking Devin Taves.
That's right. The hometown overpay. It's not the hometown discount. It's like I didn't know a hometown overpay was a thing.
It makes me worry about this management team if they think that's a deal that's going to help them in any way. Like, Noah Hanifin worth assets. You understand that players you're getting back in these deals are on entry-level contracts. Like, why were you willing to do that to a team that already has locked too much money into the likes of Huberdeau, Kadri, Weegar?
Well, let me guys ask you guys this, and this is actually a genuine question. Is Calgary getting to a point, and it was brought up on our show yesterday, where they've got to protect their brand, because you don't want it to be a destination that's on the no trade, no fly list for a lot of teams. So that's where you're looking at players, and the ownership is saying, hey, we've had Gaudreau leave, we've had Tkachuk leave, we've had, rumblings of other players no go or want to head out. You don't want that trickling through the league. And I think that's where the fine line of the overpay, or the fine line of, like, we do need to keep some of the guys that we do covet and we do want. And I'll only say this because, and I grew up in Edmonton, you guys know, there's markets now that you have to overpay. I call them cold weather tax, or, city tax. Winnipeg's one of them. Ottawa's one of them. Carolina's one of them, because they're not the sexiest destinations on the planet. So that's the only thing that I could defend on an overpay, is if you want to keep that player, sometimes you've got to pay that we'll call it small market tax.
I don't disagree with you, but two things. We said it. Nikita Zadorov, you don't want to be here. I think he's a good player. I actually like how he plays. I mean, he's got jam. That's what he is, but I like him. You don't want to be here? Get the hell out.
Yeah.
And that's fine. We move on. Buffalo's struggled with it. It took me a while to get to this. You are already one of those cities, because you said you're the cold water. I think you have to operate differently. And I think overpaying is the mistake that they all think they have to make.
Yeah.
And it's the opposite. I think the move is the way to manage it is to move the assets when you need to move them before you have to overpay them. There's a value to them, but you just have to be damn confident and damn sure that what you're getting in return and the picks that you make are going to fill holes and needs.
Right.
And you operate. The Tampa Bay Rays are the shits, aren't they? Like, nobody wants to play in Tampa Bay, but there's a lot of effing players that have come through Tampa Bay and turned into big money players for other teams. And I think I know what you're saying, and I think it's the approach of all these guys. I think it's the opposite. I think the opposite approach is what needs to happen.
I wasn't defending
allow
it.
These guys to play well, and then if they don't like it, bust your ass out of here. You're either an Albertan at heart, or you're not part of it long term.
Yeah.
And if I may, really quickly,
go
sorry,
ahead.
Jamie, just like the way that you sign the worst contract in the NHL is starting to act like you got to protect your brand. You forget about winning. You forget about how you want to structure your contracts, and you sign Jonathan Huberdeau to this massive deal that's all bonus laden. You can't buy out because, to quote the GM, you had to punch back and defend Calgary. That's where you get yourself in trouble. The sexiest thing you can sell in any market is winning. And it's deals like that stop you from winning. Hanifin at 7.5, that is going to hurt you signing free agents down the road, because it's going to hurt your chances at winning. You're going to be capped out. Winning teams always attract talent. We've seen it in Calgary. After that run you guys went on 03-04, there was a lot of high-end, sexy name brand guys that came into Calgary. And it didn't have to be an overpay. It's because they thought they could win. Winning is one of the greatest things a player looks for, if not number one on the list. Money's up there. Market and climate, fine. But build a winning program, and that's where I'm on the same page as right here. Build winners, then you'll be able to sign people without overpaying.
It's a great point. And all I was pointing out is exactly what I think that mindset is. I wasn't advocating for it. I've just been saying, like, Buffalo's a great case study. So they ended up finding a star in Alex Tuck who actually wanted and is excited to come home, right? So you build a program there, and then you will attract people that want to play there, to your point, Pinder. And I think it's great. I agree 100%. You build a program that people want a piece of, regardless of the marketplace, the weather, all of that. But right now, when you're kind of in that middle of, you're not a great playoff team and you're not, a bottom feeder, it's the most dangerous place to play, because you are having to overpay to keep guys if you want them in that. So we were, our whole discussion was, is it a reputational thing? And are you concerned about the reputation moving forward? At some point, it's like anything. If you're the weaker part in a relationship, people will do anything to keep that relationship. Sometimes it's better, the fit is better. That person might not be best for you, so you just move on. So I agree with Rhett. I agree with you, Pinder, and what you guys are saying, because if you build a program that is second to none, that is class, that is, everybody wants a piece of, then you will attract that extra piece when you least know it, at that last moment that puts you over the top. So I was shocked at that number as well. But like I say, that's where kind of my head went, is I look at Winnipeg, I look at Ottawa, some of these teams, you almost add $1 million extra for that cold weather tax, I call it. And, Winnipeg is a prime example. Pierre-Luc Dubois, see you later. Well, we're going to turn you into something, right? And those players seem like they're settling in. But then you also get guys that were drafted and developed, Hellebuck and Scheifele. They're going to be lifers there, and they're that core. And what that said was to Kyle Connor and Nikolai Ehlers and some of those young guys, it's like these guys want to be here. So it's what they built in Winnipeg, and that's kind of what I'm using as a case study. And Rhett, same thing with Buffalo. Buffalo's turned the corner. You've got guys that have committed there that want to be there.
We're also seeing, like you mentioned, Connor Zary. He's gotten on a line with Nazem Kadri and Martin Pospisil, the other kid. Well, Pospisil's now got 4 points in 5 games, and Zary's a point per game. And along with that, Nazem Kadri is now over a point per game in his last 7. He's got 8 in his last 7, and he's playing some of the best hockey we've seen. That influx of talent, it's not always, you can't just bring in guys that are 2021 and it's going to work. But Zary was a first rounder, and Pospisil's been a prospect for a while. You wonder why there is such a reluctance sometimes to hand things out, to bring in the young guys. They've got Wolf, who's already got a taste in net. You feel like he's going to be okay here. Fans aren't going to abandon the team. They aren't going to put their Flames jerseys in mothballs if they trade away veteran guys and bring in kids. It's a savvy market. They'll be excited to see these young guys come in. And we've seen already through whatever it is, 10, 12 games, that the young guys they'll be okay. The kids are all right, as they say, Yeah,
I agree. And I think you are seeing, I think us, the four of us talking, you probably want to see it yesterday. You want to see it happen. I do believe it's happening slower than people want, but it is happening. And you do see a mentality there where Craig Conroy is trying to place these kids in situations where they can, get a taste, have some success, and kind of run with it. You call the kid up, Wolf, the other day. Yeah, I mean, didn't stand on his head, but you give him a taste, you show him, and, you send him back down. You've got some flexibility. But you're also, I thought Vladar really battled in Toronto. I didn't think he had his A stuff early on, but he really didn't give up on anything. And I thought he made a couple big saves in overtime and really got them a point. So, I think there's a bigger play there. If Markstrom can stabilize, you bring Wolf up, and, Vladar, there's a marketplace for him. Unless there's a bigger play, like you guys are saying. You got 2 years left of Markstrom at $6 million. If there is a bigger play, I don't know if that's a deadline thing or a next summer thing, but, are you in a rush to move all these players out if the end game is going to be rebuilt, or do you do it methodically? to get the most value out of it, because Zadorov guaranteed is, I thought it was dumb to put, the agent puts it out there. So guaranteed Craig Conroy's phone lights up and everyone wants to offer an olive branch to take that, that problem off of his hands. And it's going to be for a 7th rounder or whatever. Like, so, if Connie can be patient here, allows Zadorov a marketplace to continue to build for him, he's going to get market value or more for Zadorov, depending on how desperate that team trading for him wants to be.
Real quick, if I can, you sort of alluded to it, Boom, and I just wanted a thought from Noodles on it. Like, I sort of see a Markstrom deal as something that was impossible a year ago because he was playing so bad, and there was still 3+ left on it. All of a sudden, it looks more reasonable to me. If you ate a couple million, he's $4 million. You get 3 playoff runs, 2 more years if you're a contender. What teams are in the market? And I know you mentioned Edmonton, but where else? Do you think the Kings are in love with Cam Talbot? I know it's been a nice start. Is it a fit with Toronto? Like, what teams that are you saying, man, if they just had a blue chip in net, they'd be aces?
Well, LA comes to mind right away. Now, Cam Talbot's been great. Phoenix Copley, it took him a lifetime to be an NHLer, consistently. But Talbot had 3 injuries last year that were really tough on Ottawa. So, you look at it, I would much rather you trade for a stud. I don't know how you could make the money work. Like you say, if you make him a $4 million goaltender, you got to sort things out. But LA would be, for me, number one. Edmonton would be as well. I think Toronto would kick tires. I think Toronto, they like Joseph Woll. I think Samsonov on a 1-year deal after arbitration. That would have to be eating some money, or Samsonov would have to go the other way. I think Toronto would be in that marketplace.
I wonder about Carolina.
I was just going to say
Freddie Anderson out in that. They've been right on the doorstep for years, it feels like.
Well, and they have the Russian kid, or not Kochetkov. He identifies. I think he's like Hungarian or something, but they've got him. But you're right, Carolina. I've been kind of disappointed in them this year. I thought they were just going to hit the ground running. They've hit the ditch. And Freddie Anderson, if you look at his injury history, these blood clots are obviously very serious and very scary, but he's had injuries in the past where it's like they just shut him down for 2 weeks and all of a sudden he just shows up. In Toronto, he got shut down the last month and he was available and they were like, no, he's not available, or sort of. Like, there was just so many things going with him. Carolina would be, top tier. And the other, I look at those teams. Those teams are really good, but they need stability in net. So we've named 4 just off the top of our head. And I mean, put more thought to it. Colorado would be another one. Freddie Frances, Pavel Francouz, just packed it in for the season, unfortunately, for an injury. So you've got Georgiev, who's a good goaltender, but is he the guy that is going to lead them to the promised land? So I would look at Colorado as another destination. So there's 5 teams we've named off the top of our head that you could at least create a marketplace and see what it looked like.
Hey guys, thanks for watching. Be sure to check out more of our content right here on the Flames Nation YouTube page. We had a bunch of great long-form interviews. You can check out some videos we've done as well outside of the studio. And of course, if you want more writing or merchandise stuff, flamesnation.ca or nationgear.ca. Appreciate you watching.